Vocabio. Master English your way.
Largest fighting force Russia has assembled in the 30 years of independent Russia, the largest.
In terms of aggression at the time, you could assemble all the data you wanted, all the historical evidence.
Cigarette making plant where the people assembling the cigarettes were all graduates and some of them postgraduates.
Who you're empowering and what team you're assembling. So I think really good mission teams, we do this at Nestron, did it also.
Exactly that question.
It's time now to assemble a group of distinguished Americans to take a hard
given a chance, and thus when the West threatened Putin with sanctions once again in 2022, he would have...
States like Poland and others had been very much threatened by this war, but they tried to see how they can...
Like the pace of change, because it was threatening and leaving them behind. That, I think...
Look, I don't like Sir Roger Dowler either, enemies. He threatened to circumcise me unless I lend it.
Would you be a court packer, or would you threaten to go down that road? In other words, to appoint more justice?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wrestled with this. This book came out in the US in...
While the closeout crew wrestle with the handle,
well placed to discuss this topic, wrestled with it both of them themselves.
Something that I'm just not going to be able to wrestle into any sort of shape. But I think if you're an historian of whatever period...
All day today, a lot more than all-star wrestling. So,
Out of two world wars, which compressed the differences between the poles in society. And we know that...
If you look at a more compressed timescale and you look at what's happened, say, since the economic crash, like...
compresses the gas.
So what happens when we
stable into a black hole? We would have to compress it until its density became incredibly high.
Back in the brain. And your ear is compressing, translating air compression waves into spikes. And your skin is...
And that is part of the dynamism that animates both of these superpowers. And I certainly...
It was, and what it animated me was this idea that, like, forget their baseball players.
Trying to, like, anonymity, or getting rid of anonymity, wouldn't change those things. We'd still be...
Or I should say, animating ideas that was driving those insurrectionary...
Borders and, you know, are animated, I believe, by tremendous rage when I'm here.
Or Israelophobia often inhabits the language of social justice,
From the word Slav. The Slavs inhabited Eastern Europe and were taken by the Muslims of Spain in the 19th.
Unique organisms inhabit our world. Biodiversity is essential to human life.
It's a place of forests, lakes, farmlands, and 11 inhabited islands, including the one...
Well, unless you kind of imagine something like a soul inhabiting the body, which we're beyond, I hope.
In this debate, I'm going to ask the audience to submit their pre-debate vote, because we want to get a sense...
States pulling out. There's all these documents that have been submitted by the Russian Foreign Ministry, for example.
Before I introduce them, though, I'm going to ask you to submit your pre-vote to get a sense of where you stand.
To come in, please do continue to submit them, and we will get to those up very shortly.
Are invited to nominate targets and submit evidence, not in Britain.
December after their children's hospital was bombed, because we wanted to rebuild hospitals. We will not be stopped from doing our life.
Support meetings of my choice, committing to rebuilding my relationships with my family.
The way to build and rebuild and fix their AI so that they're really...
What works and what doesn't. They're trying to rebuild the engine of a plane as they actually fly it.
To kind of bring back and rebuild that family support. But I'm also really clear that we can't just kind of...
That vary from Cistercian monasteries and...
The politics of it vary. So there's two interesting issues with both Sharon and Jackson.
He gets in extreme right-wing people of varying kinds, some perfectly sensible people, I'm sure, that I'm not dismissing.
By how much do you expect them to vary in percentages? And
straight always above gay, etc., because that will vary, right? It will vary over time.
Those are the big challenges.
We'll start unpacking some of that, Keith, through this conversation.
Form for myself where
I unpack ideas of climate and sustainability for a broader audience.
To bring people together, to unpack the potentially difficult and complex.
That we needed to unpack the ideas that Putin had about Russian history.
Look, we Jamaicans, we've already unpacked it for ourselves.
Can radically transform society requires a certain degree of optimism, social optimism.
And B, a job that requires emotional intelligence is something that won't be...
In a general sense, psychological. It requires an admission, which frankly, most atheists I've known...
To give them information I did not think that was required for them to have. So again, I'm gradually in this trend.
To do it requires people with quite expert training, working machines and using reagents.
These lawyers threatened to actually sue the government because they were negligent in their...
The New York Times is suing Microsoft and OpenAI in the US over the theft of their copyright.
Montana residents ages 5 to 22 sued their state for supporting fossil fuels.
Danger or disability or whatever, and then I can sue the bank or take political action against. It doesn't work like this.
Then Putin is not going to sue for peace on that basis. He's not going to go back to Russia.
And started my first business, which is a consulting firm that runs big campaigns for companies in 2000.
And so when we make decisions, we usually consult memory and we feel like...
And also the willingness to do things without consulting anybody. Like they got to a point in this firm.
The same thought leaders, the same consulting firms and protocols, the same philanthropists and reform.
Ago, when I was doing a consulting job at an insurance company, and I had...
So just to summarize, I think we need to see the seeds of the change.
Meaninglessness. And you, as you've said in summarizing the book, in a way you deal with the first and the third.
Why did you choose that title? Did it sort of summarize the fight for you?
Deal with it. If I had to summarize in one sentence, I welcome it.
So it can really be summarized into, I'm not good enough for...
There are ways to minimize your impact when a long-haul flight is the only option. I'm using Google Flights and the ICAO
screws up. And then people get hauled before. It's learned reflexively. People who work in government have learned.
Trump being hauled out in a straitjacket from the White House by security.
He was in the country at the time, and I was hauled out of boarding school to attend his book launch, about the
extent that it has disappeared, haul it back onto the table between us and tell us what happened.
Kind of smash into the kind of centralizing, data aggregating, kind of data hungry.
Not held back from saying we need to smash the class ceiling. It is a class ceiling that we absolutely...
And will get smashed at the midterms next year because the Democrats are hemorrhaging support.
This, I mean, like we hear lots of records being smashed in the world of crypto all the time. Is this an important one?
Keep going. Sometimes you tap, reset, start.
Mentally smash. At length in this conversation, please allow me to say a few words about the very fact that I did.
There's kind of one paragraph you allow yourself with an insane run-on sentence that is completely...
lexicon, a new means of expression that would allow it to continue to thrive without being recognized.
And experiences of my life. Allow me here to say a few words about it.
In those days, you're still allowed to give geographical locations to diseases. The Asian flu of 19...
Erecting a firewall to prevent incoming...
Black church bombing, that a cross was erected in its ruins. So it was very clear.
There was an interesting debate in France. They wanted to erect a statue of the people on Pont Neuf.
Very important to him. And he erected these massive stone pillars in order to propagate.
That's because certain stories and mythologies had been erected around these people. And so I just became concerned.
As a result of it, they multiply very rapidly. This multiplication by itself is not general.
With that pressure yourself, particularly, I guess, is multiplied when you're captain, because I guess you're
There's a country in the UK
to multiply 5 or 6-fold the amount of renewable energy.
If you have a task like multiplying two numbers, they do it both with the same number of steps.
Up to 2050, probably is going to multiply by 2 or 3. Those are the big numbers we have.
A young woman named Heather Hare and injuring dozens of other people. That weekend, we also saw footage of
family members have lost their homes, sometimes injured or killed themselves. We can't really shield them.
People who've died in combat, but people who've been severely injured and, clearly can't return to the front. And some of those figures
have been killed or injured in Ukraine. Have sanctions prevented that? No.
Can I read something?
Yes. Vocabio, available in Google Play. Download, discover, improve your English.